Welcome back to the Irish Mags Show. It is episode 71. My name is Paul. I'll be your host for today. And I am delighted to say it's just me and Alan today. No, it isn't.
Yeah.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Welcome. Thanks, lads. Thanks very much.
That is the first and last time I shall be singing on the podcast
Yes,
in your
thank
honor.
God.
But welcome back, Chris Show. It's great to have you back. I would say you're about 75 to 80% of your health. You might get the first half in. We'll see how you are in the second half if we need to make a substitution.
Yeah, I apologize to anybody going forward if I do cough and bark like a dog, but I'll try and put myself on mute. But yeah, thanks for the nice welcome, fellas. I really appreciate it. I've missed being on the podcast. And I've just been I've been comatose for 2 weeks with a savage amount of infection all over my entire body, which was hilarious fun. But I did get to take copious amounts of steroids, which was a right crack. So, not that I'm saying anything about it, but kids don't do drugs, don't do steroids. But I was pretty much, flying for 2 weeks. But
so just on that, are you gonna stay out with 4 your eyes only now, or are you gonna go back?
I genuinely don't know what you're talking about.
No, yeah.
I have no recollection.
Alan, he actually doesn't know what you're talking about because the drugs have fried his brain. He barely remembers why he's here.
Yeah. I just turned up at this
the
time.
man is just literally he's just told us he's been barking like a dog. He's been barking like a dog for about 70 odd episodes of the Irish Mags Show, to be honest. We're delighted to have you back, Chris Show. Great to have you back.
Welcome.
Thanks, guys.
It's not the Irish Mags Show without Chris Show. But obviously, myself and Alan are great, and we already
you are, guys.
We held the fort.
It picked me up watching those 2 episodes. You did a great job, guys, as always. And I had to come back because it's the Chris Show Derby this weekend. So it's Manchester Red versus Newcastle Black and White. So I'm ready to get stuck into
game.
Big
game in the Chris Show calendar. Alan, do you think he's got a half jersey, half scarf? Fucking horrible fan is he?
Yeah, he's going to be like Two-Face and Batman. One side will be Newcastle, the other will be
Well, it beats him being the Joker like he normally is here. Hello. Excellent stuff. Delighted to have you back, Chris Show. And we've plenty to talk about. Speaking of comebacks and speaking of superstars, we're going to talk a little bit on this podcast, obviously, about that game coming up against Man Red. We'll have a little chat about Leicester as well. But in between that, we're going to have a little spotlight in honor of one man in particular. Chris Show, I'm assuming you saw the game at the weekend against Leicester. And what I can only describe as the saddest miss I've ever felt. I was never so devastated when a ball didn't go in the back of the net as when Fabian Schär, not only as he does, he just loves winning the ball and then doing it himself like he did against PSG, strikes the ball from inside his own half off the crossbar. And of course, Jacob Murphy, right place, right time, just about gets it in the
just about scores.
Just about gets in the back of the net. So we'll come on to that, but we're going to have a chat about Fabian Schär. He's just signed his new contract. And we want to really dive in, lads. And I want to pick your brains to see, do we think Fabian Schär is the greatest bargain in Newcastle United history? Maybe he's the greatest bargain in Premier League history. Maybe he's the greatest bargain in world history. All will be revealed over the next 30 to 40 minutes. Before we dive in, we do have to tell everybody listening that the Irish Mags Show is kindly and proudly sponsored by Flagman Ireland, who specialise in quality digitally printed personalized flags, bunting, tablecloths, table flags, and hand wavers. Their online store also stocks and sells a wide range of international and domestic flags, including their heavy woven government standard Irish tricolour in various sizes and finishes, as well as all of the elite Irish Mags flags, one of which Chris Show has been asleep under for about 2 weeks.
Indeed.
Maybe 3 weeks since the League Cup final.
I will give you one good thing, and this is a shout out to Flagman Ireland. I said to Al, what am I going to do about this flag? It is legitimately covered in all kinds of fluids. Not exactly sure which fluids. He was like, you can just throw it in the washing machine. It'll be grand. Just throw it in the washing machine. And it's a bloody big flag, 4 by 6 foot. And it came out even better. It was, I'm so delighted. I thought maybe it was going to run or something was going to happen to it or whatever. It came out perfect. So
all machine washable.
They're all machine washable. There you are.
They are indeed.
There you are, testimonial from the horse's mouth, and I can confirm that majority of the liquids on that flag were probably what I was drinking that day.
They sure were.
Because those pints were mobile, to say the least. So yes, if you are looking for a flag of any size or shape or sort, go to flagsireland.com and you'll find all of their products online there. Right, lads, let's dive into it. We'll start with the Leicester game. Alan, the more I look back on that game, I think I'm just conditioned. Maybe we're all just conditioned to never really be at peace when we're watching Newcastle United. Even when they've started a game brilliantly, even when they're 2-0 up, 3-0 up. And yeah, like they drop down gears and I get worried. Should I stop getting worried about this?
Yeah, I think we're now at a stage where we can kind of go, when we're taking our foot off the gas, it's because we're now aware that this team cannot lay a glove on us. Leicester were absolutely awful. They're one of the worst sides I've ever seen try to play football. We weren't even trying to win the ball back. They were just giving it back to us. Like, there was absolutely nothing for them. So I do think it got to the stage where we just went, we have a big game next Sunday against Man Red. Let's not break our necks here. Let's not cause any undue stress. Let's just get to the end of this game happy, healthy, and get the hell out of Dodge, because we didn't really need to exert ourselves overly too much to get the win, did we?
Absolutely.
I mean, we did for 10 minutes and then that was enough. That's what it felt like anyway, Chris Shaw. I mean, what a start. I love when Newcastle United start games well. There's just nothing more magical than watching them just come out of the traps on fire.
Yeah.
And then in particular the Tino Livramento, and rightly so. I think we should talk about Tino.
Yeah.
Just breaking down that left-hand side. He's getting better and better down that left. He's swinging crosses in on his left. And that man, Jacob Murphy, arriving in to put us a goal up after what, a minute and 20
minute and a
seconds?
half or something.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, the Barnes Livramento overlap is delicious. It was delicious in the final. It's delicious against Leicester. And they seem to have a very nice understanding. Even just the last couple of games, it seems like they work well together. And it kind of seemed like a training exercise that worked very well. One of 2 or 3 Newcastle players could have scored that goal. Obviously, Jacob Murphy's having the season of his life, his career, and he was right there. It was so easy, and it must have been so hard for Leicester getting themselves set up. I think they had 5 at the back, and then a minute and a half in, they're 1-0 down against Newcastle. And if you looked at it carefully as well, over the course of the next 15 minutes, we swallowed them up in the midfield. They might have had 5 at the back, but we ate them alive in the midfield. They didn't get anywhere near us. Anytime the ball went into the midfield, it came to us, or we won it and played it on. It was vintage Newcastle stuff in a sense that it was completely relentless the first 15 minutes. I honestly believed that this was going to be like a proper, hammering destruction. I thought we were going to be 5-6-0 up at halftime. Leicester looked like they put their heads down straight away, like completely straight away. But Barnes Livramento is very, very nice. I'm feeling a bit more sorry for Barnes because I've got an awful impression. As soon as Gordon's ready, he gets back in, and Barnes doesn't. And Barnes is put back on the bench. But I think Barnes has done a great job the last while. Yeah,
I agree. I think he's been good. I think he's been getting better and better. Like he grows into games, but then he's been growing over the last 2 games as well.
Yeah.
He's definitely a confidence player, I think, as well. Getting that goal would also have helped him, I think, in the last week or so. So it's an interesting one, Alan. Probably jumping ahead, but Anthony Gordon, now there is a question mark. He didn't obviously feature even on the bench against Leicester, but on the assumption that he was fit for Manchester United, he's probably on the bench, which is a strange thing to say with 8 games to go in the Champions League.
You think so? You think he's on the bench?
Yeah, absolutely. What has Harvey Barnes done wrong to warrant being dropped? He's got goals. He's got assists. He was one of our best players in that cup final that we just won. He was one of our best players last night. He was another outlet against Brentford. The man has grabbed the opportunity he's been given with both hands, and it is now up to Anthony Gordon to win that spot back. And I, for one, do not mind seeing 2 quality players trying to kill each other to get into our team, because that's only going to bode well for us. There's only good things that can come out of the 2 of them. Obviously not trying to snap each other and train or anything like that, but those 2 of them trying to get that one position, it's going to be good. And I think it could get to the stage where Anthony Gordon could turn around and be like, if I'm not going to get time there, I'm willing to play on the right and try break into the squad and that side. Then you have to try to get Murphy out of the squad. So
Mm.
the more vying for that one spot or those two spots, the better, because it'll just make us better as a side. So I can't see him being dropped.
I remember us speaking probably around January, coming off the back of the big, long winning run. And I remember us talking about squad depth, but not necessarily depth like squad competition. And there were probably at the time certain players that were very comfortable in the squad. And I think we mentioned Anthony Gordon being one of them. So, yeah, of course, competition is great. Another interesting thing, Chris, I don't know if you noticed it in the Leicester game. Osula came on, but I'm pretty sure I saw him go on the left and Barnes came over to the right.
Yeah.
So, obviously Jacob Murphy gets a rest because he's an elite player and he's a must-have against Manchester United.
He is.
But I was surprised because we saw Osula play on the right before and do quite well. I think it was in the cup. But I suppose it's an interesting thought that, depending on how the game goes, if Murphy goes off, it doesn't mean Gordon goes on the right. Maybe Barnes goes over the right, Gordon goes on the left. And the other thing is that if Gordon is in the picture, Wilson hasn't been covering himself in glory. If Isak isn't up for 90 minutes, Gordon up top is another option and maybe better than Wilson.
I'm just not like, I mean, what was Osula signed as? Was he signed as a striker, right? So
he's a crack merchant. He just loves to party.
Yeah, he really enjoyed winning that medal, I can tell you that. But luckily he didn't actually do anything for it. But I'm just kind of not sure. He didn't really do much against Leicester. He's a big lump of a lad. He's quick, but I can't really see. I don't really see where he fits in. Al, I know you're going to jump in here, but I just don't really see where he fits in. I know he's only a nipper. I know he's only a young lad, but I just don't know where he fits in. I'm never convinced when he's playing.
Cast your mind back 12 months ago, and this is the exact conversation we were having about Lewis Hall.
Fair. Yeah.
You have to give the coach and staff the time to develop a player. We signed him from Sheffield United, who were, barring Southampton this year, probably the second or third worst team to ever grace the Premier League. He wasn't exactly getting to do too much with the ball. He's learning a new system. Next season is going to be a big, big season for Will Osula. And he will absolutely rip it up for us next year. He will.
Where though? Like on the left, up front?
It'll be predominantly as a striker to give Isak time off, but the beauty of Osula is he can play across the front three. Doesn't mind where he's playing. So he'll play more up top. I think he'll go in a second choice unless something mad happens in the summer and we go out and sign a young striker to battle with him. But I can't see that happening because it's not a priority.
Right. Okay.
I think as well, he was signed at a time when we had a certain amount to spend, when we could only bring in certain kinds of players, knowing he's going to be a backup, knowing he's young, shadowing two brilliant strikers, between Isak and Wilson. But he's not going to be looking at next season going, I should be starting next season. Hall might be different. Hall might have been last year when Hall wasn't getting games. He was looking at Dan Burn at left back, knowing that wasn't the future. I don't think Osula is going to be thinking, okay, I need to be starting next season. Having a player like him to come off the bench, particularly if he continues to improve, develop his game, obviously he's going to have to look at roles and the dynamic. But having a flary, fiery, hard to mark, kind of annoys people, throws an odd elbow here and there, that's a lovely option to come off the bench, particularly when you're leading a game. It's not like you turn to Osula when we're losing, because we haven't really seen him being this kind of potent goal threat. But when we're leading the game, there's not much. That's quite a nice option to bring on a player like Osula and just, come up against a right back or a left back who's played 78 minutes and is knackered from Jason, Gordon, or Barnes or Murphy. I'm fine with that. I'm fully on board with that, as well as him going up top if needed.
Do you think that was an Eddie Howe or a Dan Ashworth sign?
That was a Jason Tyndall sign. Yeah, Tyndall was his assistant manager at Sheffield United before he came back to Newcastle, and Tyndall was the one that was like, "There's a player there, get him in." So you have to be willing to let the man.
He must have been class when he was 15 or something. He must have been or 14 or whatever. He must have really stood out, and it's quite possible. You know what I mean? Because managers will see players at that age. So I think it's fine, and good character to have around as well. Do you know what I mean? brings a good bit of life into the dynamic of the team. So be interesting to see what kind of player he turns into, especially when, if we go into this summer in a world where we do get back into the Champions League and there's money to spend. It'd be interesting to see where he kind of lands up. Okay, if we move forward in the game, then Alan, you were in the bleaker on Sunday.
I was.
Talk me through the reaction when Fabian Schär Talk me through the reaction when Fabian Schär strikes the ball, picks up the ball in his own half. Talk me through the reactions of the place, because I know there was a mix of, should he have passed it to Murphy? Murphy was a bit pissed he didn't pass it to him. Ultimately, the shot goes. Talk me through.
It was basically, we've won the ball back. Oh, what the fuck is he doing? Oh, look at that. He's hit the crossbar. Oh, we're 2-0 up. It was a real mix of emotions. I know. I was sitting beside Jock. It was about to give out stink for him even nearly having a go from there until he seen the ball cannon back off the crossbar and Murphy take the touch. It was one of those that you really didn't know what was happening until it was too late and it already happened. There was a brief silence after the goal went in and we just went, he has to be offside or something here. This can't count, because he was 30 yards space in a Premier League pitch. You're going, what's going on here? And he wasn't offside. It was just absolutely dreadful defending by Leicester, who just decided not to chase the ball back. But what an attempt by Schär. It's the most disappointing thing I've ever seen, someone hitting the post from there. And just to clarify something, he actually broke the record from the furthest ever hit of the woodwork in Premier League history.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's it's a lovely record to have in an awful way.
Yeah.
Is it, Chris? Like, I look at this, Chris, show as, at the time I was like, I think that's the greatest goal that was never scored. And the only one I can compare it to, which might not be the exact same, was Isak's run against Everton, where he turned 6 players and then 2 more of them a second and third time. And then he didn't even get the assist. Maybe it's the best assist that never was, because it clipped off before Murphy taps it in. I'm just thinking, was there any other goals that never were? But that's definitely up to Shelby. Shelby, I remember having one as well.
I think Pele's first attempt in the World Cup or something, where he saw the keeper off the line and from halfway and he missed by about an inch. I think Pele did it in 66 or 70 or something. But no, what you call it? Not to bring it back to the olden days, but it shows just how precise Fabian Schär is with his. We can see it from his cross the pitch passes and so on, and his long passes. They're so precise. Now, I know we're going to get onto it about him, but that shot was absolutely precise. Just we're talking an inch and a half. That keeper was nowhere near that. He didn't. That would have just went straight in. But I'm certain Eddie Howe said it to him. Next time just play the ball, will you? Because if you look at it again, Jacob Murphy was literally in no man's land with no one near him. He could have just rolled it to him. I don't know whether Murphy would have scored that still, but that shot, I couldn't believe it, because when he took the ball, it was very PSG tackle, classic Schär, straight in, took the ball, and then he barely looked. He just flicked his head, just looked for a second, and that shot was so precise. I mean, what age is this guy? He's 35, isn't he? 36? He's 35,
He's 34, 35.
34 going 35, I think.
35-year-old defender, taking a shot from there. Pure confidence, not a bother on him. All his teammates staring at him, and he hits the crossbar. And boy, did he thump that crossbar. It could have went anywhere, but unbelievably for us, because our luck is in currently, it falls to wobbly legs McGee, Jacob Murphy, who nearly messed it up, everybody, just so we're clear. He was kind of surprised. He was like, once that went in, you could just really see, like Alan said at the top of the podcast, that we kind of went, all right, okay, well, I think we've got this. I think we can pull back here a little bit. I mean, I know we all want them to go on and crush them, but like you said, Al, we're not that team anymore. We've won the game. Let's just relax. We've got Man Red on Sunday.
I was a little disappointed though. I felt they were this is getting greedy. If we had a 1-8-0, we would have went second. Leicester were there for putting
third,
past them. Oh, sorry, third. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, ahead of Chelsea. Yeah, for the goal.
Leicester were there for the taking.
Yeah, well, yeah,
so
you're right.
It's a little bit disappointed that we didn't. But come here, we got in, we got the win, and we got the hell out of Dodge. So I do understand why we done it.
Yeah, and I think like goal difference, the odds of goal. I mean, it might come down to it. Of course, it might. But if you're Eddie Howe and you're looking at it going, we're good, but there's a very wobbly thin line that could make us not as good. And that's an Isaac injury, that's a Tonali injury, and we've seen these players go down in games, and you have this panic. It's a Joe Linton yellow card, and then suddenly he could be out for a couple of games. So it is a very fine line. I think at this point, coming out of that Carabao Cup final, 3 points is 3 points, and I think Eddie was smart enough to know that and kind of worry about the goal difference if and when it becomes an issue, rather than trying to bank them up against Leicester, because it's a risk, I suppose. Yeah, I fucking love that. I just love the fact. I think Schär deserves a shot there. I think he was smart enough to win the ball and intercept it, and to know that quick, maybe even before he got the ball or as he got the ball, he knew that was on, because he didn't even have to think twice about it. So I think he's earned the right to shoot it.
I'd say he was told. I'd say the midfielder told, look, this keeper comes off his line. He sits on the edge of the box. If you win the ball back on the halfway line, just have a quick look. He had a quick look and he had a quick go, and it was nearly the best goal ever scored in a black and white tournament. He wasn't even a black and white
does
jersey.
have form, though. He has form.
I did see this.
I don't know if you saw, was it Jacob Whitehead, I think, tweeted out.
Jake Whitehead did it, yeah.
Yeah, if you check out Jacob Whitehead on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, Schär was I can't remember the name of the team. It was back in Switzerland.
Vaduz, was it?
No, it's not even them, but it's something short. I should look it up, but who has time? A lot younger version of a Fabian Schär, basically scoring from almost even further out, I think. And it was videoed a long time ago. So he does have form, but we do know that the man can strike a ball, and that's why we're going to chat about him very briefly in a moment, about just what a signing he's turned out to be. Just to round up the Leicester game, Alan, we talked about him a little bit already, but I was really impressed with the nature of the Harvey Barnes goal, which was our third goal, because he and again, you love when FC Will Krisho has just done the research here and popped it in chat. FC Will is the club that Schär was playing. FC Will Asula. Barnes, basically, it's like a poetic goal. He starts a move and it goes through 3-4 Newcastle players in terms of phasal play, and then ultimately there was a shot from Isaac, shot from Joe Linton.
Joe Linton. Yeah, Joe Linton.
And Barnes is there to finish off the move that he started. And again, I was mentioning confidence, but I just love when those goals go in. You just get this full circle feeling. Again, I suppose further justification of Barnes' contribution and what he's done since seizing the opportunity. But that's 3-0 at half time, and then it was just a case of shutting down. Leicester were absolutely terrible. I think it's important to really note this. I know we won 3-0. A second gear win. I think at one point I was thinking third. I've since dropped down to second in terms of how I viewed it. They couldn't even string passes together. It's embarrassing.
Well, what I didn't like is that sorry, I'll just real quick. What I didn't like in the second half is that Leicester got a bit filthy. They were obviously going to get stuck in, and obviously Ruben Nistelrooy is clearly not a manager, so he shouldn't be managing any football team. But he told them to get stuck in. They did some nasty old tackles on Tonali. They went straight through him, and they went through Livramento, and then they went through Joe Linton, and I found that a bit crass, frankly, because it was like what's that Everton defender guy that tackled
Tarkowski,
kind of like that, a frustrated kind of lunging tackles that they were making. I think they should have been fined for it, because they're a terrible football team, and they also can't tackle either. But that's what the second half turned into.
You're gonna get that when they're coming up against a side that's battling, like trying to do some sort of battling for their survival. Like, see, it's part and parcel. The real, like, the precipice of Leicester was the fact that they brought on a 15-year-old, and he was their best player by a country mile. Like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. Is it Manga? I think his name was. Came on and was by far their most dangerous player, their only player who actually looked like he wanted the ball. It was the first time I'd ever seen 37-year-old Jamie Vardy anonymous on a pitch. He needs to pack it in. He's not a Premier League striker anymore. It's just we weren't winning the ball back. Leicester were kicking it back to us. They were just they were getting to the halfway line. They weren't trying past. They were just putting the ball in behind us and giving it back to us. And we were saying, thanks very much. We'll recycle, keep possession, and do what we need to do with it. Very, very disappointed with them. Like last season, I went and seen that Sheffield United side that went down, and they were brutal. And I was looking last night saying, this Leicester team are worse than them. So,
yeah, I mean,
I think it's fair.
Southampton and Leicester are just absolutely dreadful football teams. They've no confidence. They obviously have players with ability, but they're completely devoid of any kind of structure or tactics or anything. Leicester are dreadful. I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy did a bit of a good job. I think 3, 4, or 5 games with Man Red, or 3 games or something. Just a bit of a bump, I think he gave them. But that doesn't mean that he's a manager or he's a coach or anything like that.
he was the Feyenoord manager, I think. I think it was
PSV.
Feyenoord. He was manager. PSV was it? Sorry, I knew he was someone in.
I can't remember. Yeah. He was
Oh.
over, and he was over. To be honest, I think they basically were rolling the dice on that one to go right.
Yeah,
Let's just try and do something completely outrageously different. And what they thought would be just a bunch of attacking football. They don't have the players for it. I think it's fair to say. I thought your man El Khanous was quite good for them. He was probably the biggest threat down the left hand side. But yeah, the keeper's passing was atrocious. James Justin was giving the ball away just for fun. Midfield non-existent. So look, we'll take those wins any day of the week, lads. They rolled over against us in their place, and they've rolled over again in our place. Let's move on and talk a little bit about. Well, I mean, let's celebrate Fabian Schär a little bit more. We know Jacob Murphy scored 2 goals. We might do a Jacob Murphy special in the next few weeks. I have a question for you at some point. If he keeps going like this, will he get in the England team? But look, Dan Burn has done it. But using Fabian Schär, Alan, I thought it would be worth a discussion. And I've seen a few people talk about this, particularly when Schär pops up and does something magical, because he has this in his locker. Fabian Schär cost, I believe, £3.5 million.
yes.
If memory serves me correctly. There's a bit of banter going around on Instagram, I think, since he hit that shot. I think Andy Carroll was getting involved, saying how the likes of Bruce. There was a couple of different discussions about Bruce not picking him, Benitez, and I remember, and Alan, I'm pretty sure you probably remember, there was talks on Schär that he could only play in a back 3, and there was a time when the following names were picked regularly ahead of him at centre back. Jamal Lascelles is an obvious one.
Kieran Clark.
Kieran Clark. I think even James Perch was in centre back at one point, probably.
Hey,
Perchino.
Perchino's a saint. He's a saint.
You'll hear no bad words against Perchino. But
never.
I mean, credit to Eddie Howe, Jason Hindle, credit to Fabian Schär for turning it around. Because in the last 2-3 seasons, I mean, he's been an ever-present, barely misses a game, loves going down, but always gets back up. The striking of the ball, the long-range passing, the goal-scoring ability, the goal as against Forest, the goal against PSG. I remember one against Burnley in the back of my mind somewhere as well. I don't know if that's a dream or not.
He scored an opening goal of the season at James Park. I don't know if it was last season or the city. It was a savage strike. Yeah. The
goal against Liverpool. Do you remember the last-minute equaliser against Liverpool where he's sliding in at the line? So, this is a moment's player, Al. $3.5 million. And I'm just going to make Krisho very happy, because Krisho, in and amongst all of the Fabian Schär madness, you may recall, or you may not actually, on the day of the League Cup final when we were in London, we started singing a song. And basically, I turned to you and I said, we need to turn this into the Fabian Schär song.
Yeah.
And we did. And then collectively, for the next couple of days, we couldn't remember what the song was. I've since remembered that we were singing Living on a Prayer with the end of the chorus
Fabian Schär.
Fabian Schär. We're halfway there. Whoa,
very good.
Fabian Schär.
That's
and we
right.
had the whole bar singing it.
Yeah.
And then we just forgot it ever happened. So maybe we need to petition the Newcastle United fan base to start getting that going in the stadium. Living on a Prayer, Fabian Schär.
We'll do it ourselves.
We need to speak to War Flags. But anyway, back on point. Alan, the simple question, Alan, is Fabian Schär the biggest bargain signing in Newcastle United's history? Simple question.
Yes.
No competition.
No competition.
Tell us more.
There is competition, 100%. My argument for his competition would be Shay Given, because we just got so much longevity out of him for £2.5 million or £2.2 million, whatever he cost. But Schär's goal, Schär's general play, Schär just being Schär is just worth so much more. And his goal against PSG is arguably worth 10 to 15 million on its own. So he's given us moments like that, and they're priceless at the end of the day. So the 3.5 million we spent on him as a release clause from Deportivo La Coruña is the best 3.5 million I think anyone has ever spent in the Premier League.
Yeah, well, here's a delicious thing about this for everybody, that Newcastle United activated his buyout clause in his contract with Deportivo La Coruña. He was only there for not even a full season with Deportivo. So whoever that was back in 2018, who was that to sign him? Who signed him back in 2018?
Benitez?
I think it was.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
Or was he pre-Benitez? No, I think it was Benitez.
It was Benitez, but so somebody saw. Look,
it was probably Graham Carr, let's be honest about it, lads.
Yeah.
He doesn't know input on who we were buying and selling.
But you have to remember, like at the time, lads, we had no money, we had no draw, we had no. Why would players want to come to Newcastle at the time? Do you know what I mean? No hope, naturally. This guy came in, nobody knew who he was, but also nobody else was interested in him. Nobody else was looking at him. And again, it took him a while to nail down a place. And the one thing I mean, if I could meet Eddie Howe, I'd ask him, Alan, but what do we think Eddie Howe has done with Fabian Schär to really just turn him into this rock solid centre back, dispelling a myth of can only play in a back three? Like, there has to be something there, because there's a few players like this that obviously Eddie Howe has turned around their careers. Jacob Murphy, Miguel Almiron, Sean Longstaff, the list goes on. But what do you do with a centre back like this? What do you think Eddie's done with him?
Eddie has put an arm around him and has said, I believe in you, to the point where Schär has finally believed in his own ability. Like when we first signed him, he was capable of doing these mazy runs and 40-yard shots. I think his first goal for us was actually against Leicester, I think, where he beat like 4 or 5 players and bent it into the bottom corner after running from, say, 40 yards out. That was under Bruce, I think, but previous managers, mainly Bruce, had absolutely no confidence in him, because previous managers wanted to play a certain way, which was defenders don't have the ball at their feet, they have it and get rid of it as quick as they can. Whereas Eddie put his arm around him and was like, I trust you to play with the ball at your feet. I want you to not generally be a dictator of play, but to be the ball playing defender that starts the initial phases of play that we need. And it just, the team was nearly formed around him by Eddie, which is a bit weird to say as a centre half, but he's seen his potential as he can be my outlet from centre half, that if we do need to bypass, is capable of defending if the ball breaks back to him. So it was absolutely what Eddie needed as a centre half, and it was ready made for him. So that's what I think it was, really match made in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the pass that he made last season against West Ham away, to Joe Linton for 2-0, and he just split the whole game in half in a matter of seconds. Nobody saw a thing, and it was a goal. And I mean, I barely even saw it, but it was such a, again, I'm going to use the word precise. It's pure precision the man has, in terms of he knows exactly how long. He's like Steven Gerrard was very good at long field passes and so on. Schär has that kind of ability where he can literally pick somebody out from 50, 60 yards away, right onto their toe. And I think to have that in a central defender is gold. And I think Botman has that too. I think obviously he'll need to work on it a little bit more, but I think Botman has the same thing. And I think he's got a great teacher in Schär in that. And I wouldn't want Dan Burn doing it. I'd rather Dan Burn was at the end of them. But I think that, I think Botman is going to be our left-footed kind of Schär in the future. He's going to start doing the same kind of long passes and stuff. But in terms of precision, I wouldn't say he's the greatest defender in the world. I hope you don't mind me saying that. But I think there's better defenders. But what he offers us going forward, and what he offers us working with Bruno in the midfield and Tonali, I think that we've got a gem. And I'm so glad he signed a new contract. Although I reckon Al, you can say it, Al reckons he's going to be sold. But hey, just throwing it out there.
The year-long contract is to keep his value up, and like it might not be in the summer, but like if we bring in a centre half in this summer window, if a team came in January with a couple of million and said, imagine a Saudi club coming in for £5 million and offering them 150 grand a week, would you begrudge the man moving? You couldn't. So like, yeah, it's that's my mindset. I don't think we're selling them for £1 million to get them off the books. It's not that. That's where I think you'll go. Someone will come in and say, "We'll give you a payday. Come on over."
I think it'll be interesting. I don't see huge value. I don't see clubs paying a lot of money for him. So I don't see us being as desperate for cash. I think back in last January, maybe, or prior to PSR windows and all that crack, maybe we would have thought about it. But I just feel like there's more value in keeping him than selling him in terms of his salary, in terms of what he brings to the team. If we do bring in another centre back, that he can obviously like be a mentor to if the player is that young. And the big question is also some talk that's broken basically in the last hour or two about Jamal Lascelles apparently hanging around as well. So if I think it was Chris Waff has said something out about apparently Lascelles might be signing a contract, like a 1 year. So that also comes into play if Lascelles sticks around, if Kraft is still around, if we do bring in a centre back, maybe there's a world where somebody might see Schär as an option, but I'd be happy for him to stay. And I think that contract has been earned. Like Chriso said, he's not the best defender in the world. He's been caught out of position a few times. He's not the quickest and never was. He's a bit slow on the turn. And we've been caught in that sense before, but there's just so much more vibes. At the very least, vibes, lads. Fabian Schär vibes. I'm all for it. Let's keep him around just for the vibes.
Or even like the younger defender that we're talking about that possibly might come in, at least would have another year to work with Schär. He's got a degree. He's got a degree in sports management. He's going into coaching. I mean, maybe he could stay around. Maybe he could stay around and work for Newcastle or whatever, or be a coach. But they have the best teacher there, essentially. I know Botman.
Well, I'll tell you what. Where would we be? So if we look on the other side of that centre back pairing, lads, Botman was brought in, and a lot of people would have said that's the end of Dan Burn starting for Newcastle when you're looking at Botman and Hull. But Dan Burn has just been a stalwart and ever present in that centre back line, and Botman will find it hard to move him as it stands. We could bring in a centre back, a really, really good, talented, younger, right-sided centre back. One little injury, and then suddenly we're back to Fabian Schär again. Do you know what I mean? So all the more reason to kind of look back and say, well, yeah, if history has taught us anything, we need these guys around. So
I'll tell you who we have. We have Carl Heffernan. That's who we have. That's who's coming.
Carl Heffernan, yes. I'm okay. I'd like the idea of it. I think he's got a way to go, though. I definitely think he's got a way to go. On the topic of bargains, then, Alan, I want to challenge you on this. I want to make you work hard to convince me and the listeners that Schär is our best bargain of the last 30 years. I think there's a few other names that deserve at least a bit of discussion on this before we crown King Fabian Schär of the bargains. And I'm going to throw two names at you to start with that I would nominate in this category. I have values in euros here, but we can kind of get the gist. Obviously, pounds, euros, everything changes. We won't go into economic talk around here, or Brexit or tariffs. Yohan Cabaye, what I have as 5 million euros, probably about 4 million pounds from Lille. We've talked about him before in the pod. And I want to give you one more. You already mentioned Shay Given. I won't mention Shay. Shay is the king by default because he's Irish. But Norberto Solano, at 4 million euros, which is again at the time probably about 3 million pounds, maybe 3.5 at best. I mean, if I offered you Solano and Cabaye now from their heyday at Newcastle, they might well get in this squad, and you might jump at the chance.
Oh, absolutely. But I'd like those two players. I think you've missed the second best bargain signing we've ever had, which is Ayoze Perez for £2 million.
I'm a different person. Oh, yeah, I'm a different person.
I think. Yeah, go on, Chriso. You drop it.
Rob Lee for 700,000, which is £1.5 million today. Which essentially he's basically a Toon legend, box to box, great agent.
I'd like to think it's more. I in my mind, if you talk about like Rob, what year was Rob Lee? Was it 93?
94?
I feel like £700,000 and then is probably about 5 million now. Or I don't know.
I thought that with the Shay Given one, and I did the online calculation, and it told me that the 2.2 million that we spent would only be equivalent to 5.3 million now, and I'm like, that doesn't sound very right. But
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's 2 million. It's about 2. Yeah, it's 1.9 million pounds essentially is what Rob Lee cost us in today's money.
Interesting. And then when you base that off, like I probably like a benchmark for us to mentally process this, and we probably have younger listeners as well who don't remember the old money. Chris Show still has pounds and shillings and
I
pence and
do.
penny
Somewhere-
farthings in
somewhere here.
his wallet. At the time, the most expensive transfer in the world, if we look at mid-90s, Alan Shearer, 15 million. So if you work backwards off that, compared to now, where what 200 million, you know, it's all relative, I suppose. Rob Lee is a good shout for what he brought to Newcastle. I think
he's right though. Ayoze Perez is legitimately like the Spanish nearly Alan Shearer.
Alan, are you basing the Iosis Perez being a bargain signing because of how much we sold him for?
No, because what he did for us. Yeah. Him and Rondon together that year when under Benitez, they were unbelievable. He was quality. And he scored one of the best goals I've ever seen for Newcastle when he did the little back heel against West Brom, I think it was.
Yeah.
Little back heel, and it was just like Newcastle players don't score them goals. That was an intelligent goal. We weren't an intelligent team at that stage of the game, but like he was, and it was just great. He stood out like a sore thumb for us because he was levels above everything else on the pitch for us. Did go missing an awful lot and did jump at the first opportunity to leave, but we made 35 million profit off him essentially, so can't really begrudge that.
I mean, if you look at it, he played 179 times for Newcastle and scored 42 goals. I know some of that was in the Championship. Went to Leicester, played 80 games, scored 12 goals. He's now at Villarreal, so we got lots of money for him, and he didn't do well at Leicester. But he's now at Villarreal, and he's played 20 games. He's scored 11 goals. That's pretty impressive.
He got in the Spain squad recently.
I think, and he got in the Spain squad last year, didn't he? Yeah, with Hosselu and Mikel Merino and all the ex-Newcastle boys. He also, I think wasn't he the last Newcastle player to score a hat-trick, a Premier League hat-trick?
Before Isaac.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we've talked about, like, Solano for me is up there because it was just signing a player from Argentina that no one's ever heard of, and him actually turning out to be fucking class. It's just like, it's old school, my golden era of Football Manager, Championship Manager back in the day. It ticks all the boxes for me. Other names on the list: Tiote for 4 million euros, I think. Another bargain, I think. Dabizas was only 2 million euros back at the time, maybe £1 million, 1.5.
I've got some for our older listeners. Paul Bracewell was signed for nothing, and he turned into a basically club legend. Although he did play for Sunderland, God bless him. But
that's the black mark.
That is a little bit of black mark. He was signed for literally nothing, and he turned into a legend. Our own John Anderson. I'm gonna have to check and see. I'm not sure how much we paid. I'm gonna check, see how much we paid for John.
I don't even know if there was a fee because I know he was a Preston before that. So there's definitely a few big good names out there, I suppose. I mean, maybe the days of bargains are gone because everyone knows who every player is. It's hard to pull the wool over the eyes. You know, everyone's been scouted. Everyone knows who everyone is. Clubs want to hold on to the rest players. It's probably different to how it used to be. So maybe we won't see those days anymore.
I know Brighton pull an awful lot out of their backsides.
True.
Caicedo's and Belay. They have a factory somewhere. They just keep building players and convinced like they're not real. Baleba is a better player.
I think bargains are probably 15-20 million now these days.
Yeah,
is that the harsh reality of life?
Yeah. Ridiculous. Like, I mean, how much was Will Asula? How much was he?
15 million. 10 million rising to 15, I think.
I mean, that's a bargain, I think, or is it? Or I don't know. Convince me. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this guy is going to do. I just really hope it's not that kind of thing, like where he's come in, we've trained him up, he's really just not getting it. He's not getting the clicking with the team, and we just sell him. I'd hate to see that. So I'm just hoping it's another one where we have one of the best bloody strikers in the Premier League in 2 or 3 years' time. Or we just go out and buy Hugo and take it again. And try
he had his chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fucked it. We don't want to.
He can go fuck himself.
Absolutely. I'm on board with that. Right. Okay. Well, as it stands, and listeners, let us know your thoughts in the comments, particularly if you're on YouTube. Obviously, it's easy to do it there. But do you agree? Is Fabian Schär the king of the bargains? Are you team Shea Given? Are you team Solano? Are you team Iosi Perez? Are you team Paul Bristol for any of the Mackhams that are hanging out secretly listening? You know who you are.
Team Rob Lee. Come on, Rob Lee.
Team Rob Lee. There's nothing wrong with being Team Rob Lee. Let us know in the comments, though, of course, who do you think is our best ever bargain? Lads, before we wrap up, big game at the weekend.
Is there?
The Chris Show Derby.
Oh,
Newcastle United against Manchester United. A fixture for the ages. We'll dive straight into it, lads, because I want to get your predictions. But Alan, I feel like we said this before, and it brings me joy to be able to say it again. Has there ever been a better time to welcome Manchester United to St. James's Park?
Not really. It's a strange thing going into a game at Manchester United going, be very disappointed if we didn't take all 3 points here.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the be all and end all of this conversation. We, at this moment in time, are a better side than Man Red. So we should be going out and getting... Come here, freak results can happen and freak performances can happen. So Man United could show up and absolutely park the bus and get a 1-0 win. We've done it to other teams ourselves, so you have to accept it. But you have to go, looking at this, on paper, we are just a better side than Man United at the moment. So we really, really should be beating them, which is fantastic to say.
Yeah, it's at home as well. I mean, it's what is it, Al? Or is it
Sunday
a 2 o'clock kickoff? 4:30.
Well, Sunday 4:30. We're the main event on Sunday. Let's be honest.
The main event, like, do you know what I mean? Like the noise there whenever we play Manchester United is cacophonous. It's unbelievable. I was even at the game a long time ago where we lost 6-2, but we were up 2-1, but we lost 6-2. We got hammered that day, but that stadium never stopped all that match. And when we're winning the other couple of matches, the last couple of seasons against Manchester United, we've just basically unsettled them from minute one. The crowd, how we're playing, they just don't look right there. Like Arsenal don't look right when they're playing there. People just feel uncomfortable at St. James's Park, certain teams, and Manchester United are one of them. At 4:30 on a Sunday, I mean, honestly, if you can't get up for this, I think you may just stay where you are, because this is... I definitely see us coming out of the blocks, playing nice and tidy, down the wings, through the middle. Midfield is going to swallow them up because they have a terrible midfield. And it's going to be not so much a Leicester game, because Man United have a few good players that, well, I hate to admit it, but they have a couple of good players. But I reckon that it'll be a 2-0. Ferocious, relentless 2-0 to Newcastle, by the way.
Alan, score prediction?
I'm going to go 4-1 to Newcastle.
Wow.
Love that. I'll sit in the middle then. I'm going to go to the 3-1. And yeah, I just think I'm fully on board for some more Jacob Murphy banter. Nothing makes me happier.
Do you know who this game is absolutely built for? Joe Linton. He is going to run around absolutely kicking 6 shades of shite out of that whole Manchester United midfield. He's going to be actively looking to batter Casemiro. I think Mainu might be back. He doesn't really care. He'll kick whoever's on the pitch, so it's going to be great. Joe Linton is going to be a man possessed. He's 100% getting his yellow card on Sunday, by the way. 100% that yellow card is coming this Sunday. So
it's time.
Yeah, it's happening. He is going to run that midfield.
And they're playing against Lyon away tomorrow night.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't know they don't really have that much of it. I mean, it's going to be pretty much the same team, I would imagine, or unless Almiron changes a lot when he goes to St. James's Park, because the season's pretty much over in terms of the league for them. The only thing they're really in is the Europa League, but I can't see that. But if he does play, like, say, 7 or 8 of the team to play against Lyon tomorrow night, we will gobble them up. Like, especially in midfield, we'll destroy them. And then just give Isaac a couple of sniffs of goal and it'll be game over, lads, after 30 minutes. Game over.
Yeah.
I'm fully on board with this plan, lads. And speaking of plans, Alan, there are plans afoot for Irish Mags meetups happening around the place.
Yes. So we actually have 5 meetups. As you can see here, we only have 4 on this because we got a last-minute late one added into the mix. So the usual Bleecker Street Bar in Dublin, we'll be there from 3:30-ish, as we always are. But then touring around the country, we have Quinlan's Bar in Cork. We have Mary Mullen's Bar in Galway, which our own Paul said he would be there for. We have Gleason's Bar in Tipperary, and the last minute one that they forgot to send us the message to say it was definitely on is in the Doyen in Belfast. So if you're anywhere near any of those counties, cities, places, get yourself into an Irish Mags meetup, because the pictures that we always put online are always great crack. And to be honest, even on Monday night, we had a lot of Geordies in with us and they loved it. So come on down. Join in the Irish madness, as we always say, and just enjoy yourself watching us beat Manchester United again.
Yes.
Yes, it's happening, and we love to see it. Right, well, on that wonderfully cheerful note, that brings episode 71 of the Irish Mags Show to a close. You can find all our socials, all the important information. Check out theirishmags.com. You'll also find all the information about those meetups as well, and they're all below in the description. We'll be back for more Irish Madness next week to hopefully enjoy reveling and basking in the glory of giving Manchester United another hiding for the ages. So until then, thank you, Chris Show. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, listeners. We'll see you all next week. Enjoy your weekends. Away the lads.
Away the lads. Slán away.
Slán, lad.